Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm going to be talking about episode 22 from season 8, The Furlough. The Furlough was directed by Harry Harris and written by Juliet Packer. And if you enjoy these segments, please do help out by hitting like and subscribe. In this episode, John Boy returns home after his long stay convalescing in the hospital and finally coming out of his coma after his plane was shot down over Belgium. So this is the first time he's going to be back home, and you see all the family scrambling to make him feel welcome. Mary Ellen and Cindy are moving the crib to take it out, so she'll stay with Cindy for now so John Boy can have his room back. And you see them just trying to make John Boy's room how it was before. And I love how there's times where we talk about it just all seems so different. They're waiting at the bus stop for him to arrive, and it's like it'll seem so different. He seems so different. And I just kind of had to laugh because, of course, this is not Richard Thomas who's coming back to the house, but Robert Wightman, who took over the role of John Boy. So, of course, he's going to feel different to us. So I think there was a little sort of irony in all of those lines that we said. But you know, I think one of the main things is that Robert wasn't trying to be Richard. He wasn't trying to do an impersonation of Richard's version of John Boy, but he just approached it in his own way. And I think that was very smart, because also keeping in mind that at this point, John Boy's been through a lot. He's now gone out into the world. He spent time in New York. He was a correspondent for Stars and Stripes in the war. He ends up getting shot down. He nearly died. He's been in a coma. So those types of events do change a person. So for him to be a little less youthfully exuberant and passionate about wanting to find out about life sort of makes sense. So cut him some slack. You know, I thought he did a pretty darn good job. And, you know, for us, people have asked, how was it for us with a new actor coming in? We were all, and still are, so attached to Richard that there was no way he was going to replace Richard. So it was a matter of creating a new relationship with this actor and finding a way to bond with him as if he were our sibling, in the same way we did with any new character who came in who we were supposed to know, or somebody we were supposed to have a relationship with, you know, we were going to get married to, all of those sorts of things. As an actor, you find ways to connect with the actor in front of you and create the most realistic relationship you can. And so that's what we really all tried to do. Ben is also home on leave, which is a nice surprise. And then Mary Ellen talks about she'll have to move back in with the girls' room, which is going to be really cramped because Ben's going to, of course, be back with Cindy. So a lot of jockeying around there. We do then see John Boy at his desk writing. And I think that was one of the other really important reasons why they brought the character of John Boy back, was it was important to Earl, because the show was created about his childhood and his memories of growing up with his family. And when the character of John Boy went to New York and was gone, his vision and the show and the activities being seen through the eyes of John Boy no longer was the focus. And so to bring the character back was important to Earl. And so then you see John Boy once again, and Robert also wore the glasses that Richard wore as John Boy. So we see these familiar things and what represented Earl's youth when he was growing up. John Boy can't remember what happened when the plane was shot down. And early on when he's on the bus, he's calling Katie Ann. But he doesn't know who this Katie Ann is. And Stuart was his best friend. He was I believe the co-pilot of the plane that went down. And so Stuart's sister comes to see John Boy, and she's really pushing him, trying, well, what happened? You know, did he make it? What happened? And John Boy feels terrible, but he simply doesn't remember what happened. When the Baldwin sisters find out John Boy is coming home, they want to throw a welcome home party. And they're at Ike's and they're talking about, this is the episode where they say they're going to send the recipe to President Roosevelt. So there's a cute moment there. But at the party for John Boy, He is reading from his GI journal, which has been published. And at one point, Jason is playing Carry Me Back to Old Virginia, and it creates a memory for John Boy. He remembers being like in a life vest and in the ocean and trying to retain consciousness, and he's singing that song, and he has this moment, and but he doesn't quite remember everything about it. My sense is this was probably filmed in Drusilla's Pond, and then they added the rain effects here and stuff like that. So never really a lot of fun to do heavy water sequences, because as an actor, you are wet a long, long time, far longer than this little short clip would have been in the film. So I felt for him having to be in that water at night with rain then dropping on him. But if you're wet, you're wet. So I guess it hardly matters. Finally, Jim Bob shows John Boy this model airplane he's built. And he said he needs to put a name on it. And that's when John Boy realizes that KDM was the name of the plane. And he then remembers the whole thing, that the pilot had died and Stewart was trying to land it. And they did land it, but everybody else died in the crash. And it was just Stewart and John Boy. And they were trying to, hang out, but they can hear a buoy ringing. And they said, that means that we're near to shore. So we just got to hang on for a while and hang on to KDN, which was the name of the plane. And Stewart's trying to put on a brave face, and they're singing. And ultimately, Stewart loses consciousness and drops off into the water. And so sadly, John Boy remembers all of this and remembers what happened. But it sort of now opens the door for him to, deal with this another piece of this instant and what's happened and losing his best friend. The humorous subplot in this episode is that Ike has had a letter from the draft board that he needs to report for his physical and he's like, this is ridiculous. It has to be a mistake. I've had a heart attack. I'm too old. They don't want me. And he tries to go and speak with the draft board, but the person there says, clearly it's a mistake, but I don't know where your files are, and you'll have to fill out all these forms. So Ike is working on filling out all of these forms when someone from the FBI shows up. FBI agent Richard Bragdon arrives for Ike and basically says, you're coming with me right now, and I'm taking you to the induction office. And so there's a really cute sequence then when Ike is having his physical, and John and Cora Beth are there, and Major Gordon is saying, okay, where is this Ike? And so Ike comes in. John Dayton plays a corporal there, and he brings Ike in, and John Dayton has talked about this being one of the funny scenes that he got to play, and how they were standing outside waiting for a cue light, and they couldn't hear the actors, and so it was a funny scene for them to film, and a cute scene within the episode. And ultimately, of course, they realize that Ike Godsey is not the young soldier that they're looking for, that there was a shifting of the year and the day of his birth. And so they had his birth date wrong. So it's like, yes, you're free to go. So Ike is able to get out of just the towel he is wearing. And John Dayton said it was kind of cold in there. So poor Ike is just, Joe Conley just has his towel wrapped around him. He's able to put some clothes on and go home. And then the episode wraps up with the family around the dinner table. And there is John Boy with us once again at the dinner table. And John says grace. In the book, Goodnight, John Boy, writer Juliet Packer shared this piece of information. She said, John Boy is troubled because he can't remember what happened after he was shot down off the coast of England. He is especially haunted because he doesn't know if the co-pilot, his closest buddy, survived. When the memories do surface, he realizes his friend had died, and John Boy can begin to grieve. I named the co-pilot after the man I was in love with at that time. As irony would have it, he shot me down about the time the episode aired. Luckily, I survived, but I think there's a lesson there somewhere. And then Joe Conley said, in this episode, Ike ignores a letter from the draft board and is arrested for draft dodging. It was silly and nutty and funny and delightfully written, right out of Laurel and Hardy. Our guest actors in this episode were Diane Stillwell as Nan Bennett, that was Stewart's sister. She was from Decatur, Illinois, and split her time between film, TV, and theater over a 27-year career. She worked on TV shows like The Love Boat 2, which was a TV movie, Remington Steele, Night Court, Who's the Boss, My Two Dads, and Harry and the Hendersons. John Fury, who played Stewart, did lots of TV, including episodes of 8 is Enough, Emergency, Chips, Lou Grant, Cheers, also Remington Steele, Murder, She Wrote, Designing Women, also Who's the Boss, Matlock, ER, did 10 episodes of All My Children, JAG, and 7 episodes of Days of Our Lives. Stephen Keep Mills was FBI agent Richard Bragdon. He was from Camden, South Carolina. He exited Yale Drama School to act with the Guthrie Theater and spent years doing theater. In TV, he was in Lou Grant, MASH, 8 is Enough, Dallas, Family, Love Boat, 29 episodes of Flow as Les Kincaid, Cheers, Heart to Heart, and Quantum Leap, amongst others. Michael Toma played Mr. Tooby. He was from Philadelphia, PA. He taught at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. On TV, he did shows like The Rookies, The Rockford Files, The Bionic Woman, 8 is Enough, where he did 42 episodes as Dr. Greg Maxwell. And then in Fame, he did 7 episodes as Mr. Crandall, and he passed away in 1982. Philip Baker Hall played Major Gordon. He was from Toledo, Ohio. He was drafted in the Army and served in Germany. In film, he did the movies Nothing in Common, Ghostbusters 2, Air Force One with Harrison Ford, Boogie Nights with Burt Reynolds, Rush Hour with Jackie Chan, Magnolia with Tom Cruise, Argo, which was an Oscar-winning film. And in TV, he was in MASH, Quincy, TJ Hooker, Family Ties, Falcon Crest, 13 episodes as Ed Mayers, Matlock, Murder, She Wrote, LA Law, Cheers, Millennium, and I worked on that show, Millennium. It was shot up in Canada. So I did 2 episodes of Millennium. He was also on Seinfeld, West Wing, Modern Family, and he passed away in 2022. And then David Kramer was the soldier on the bus. He was born in LA and did TV shows like MASH, How the West Was Won, Falcon Crest, and he actually did 4 episodes of The Waltons. He was in the season 6 episode, The Children's Carol, as Alan Timmons, and in the season 6 episode 12 episode, The Milestone, also as Alan Timmons. And then the season 8 episode, The Starlet, as G.I. Joe, and now here in The Furlough as the soldier on the bus. And then, of course, I mentioned that John Dayton once again appeared as the corporal. Thank you for joining me for this segment about The Furlough. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons episodes, more Ask Judy, and more special guests. Thanks for watching.